What's going on, guys? Getting in the green. Going to do a little late night Vegas edition for you here. We got fight night, Ladd versus Dumont. We're down to 10 fights, and it's pretty ugly.
That's rough. This card's taken some bruises.
Yeah,
We main event's been switched. Ladd replaced Holly Holm. We've had several separate fights switched, and we just lost probably the best fight on the card today in the Marquez Wright. I was most excited for that fight from a DraftKings perspective, but also just from an entertainment standpoint. So we're gonna work with what we got here, but slim pickings on what this card could have been from the beginning.
yeah, another 10 fight card, so it's going to be a little difficult on DraftKings, but let's see what we can do for you guys. First fight, we've got Nunez versus Carnelossi. We got Nunez coming in at plus 125. Carnelosi's a minus 150 right now.
DraftKings priced pretty accurately. Carnelosi 8,500. Nunez you can get at 7,700.
This
What
fight's
do you think
pretty.
on this one?
It's a tough one to call because we don't have that much on Nunez. She hasn't fought in so long. She was definitely juicing out of her mind, got popped. We're not talking like, oh, one supplement that was in your protein powder. We're talking the whole shebang. So let's see how she looks off the fucking EPO. But we don't know. We haven't seen her in so long. She's so young. She's still developing. She could be an absolute monster come Saturday night.
Yeah.
I'm going Carnelosi, though. She's been in the UFC. She's been a little more active, and she's fucking aggressive early.
Yeah.
Had that monster fight of the night in her last one, and she's got a great gas tank, but she doesn't do anything spectacular. So it's just one of those things that I'm hoping the pressure and pace can kind of mitigate Nunez's power. But I
That's
mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Carnelosi gets caught with a right. Like,
no, that's where I'm at. I do think Carnelosi is going to be the busier fighter. She's going to have more pace, and she's going to have more stamina. So Nunez definitely is better in. She wants a slower pace, and she wants to pick her shots and throw power. And I don't think she's going to be able to do that in this fight. Sure, she's live to hurt Carnelossi and possibly take her out, but I think this very much favors Carnelossi in that if it goes to the later rounds, she'll look good. And I think even in the early rounds, her pace and just her volume should win rounds if she doesn't get badly hurt. So I'm going with her as well. There's some unknowns, like you said, in this fight, but I do think she's the rightful favorite there.
yeah, as far as DraftKings go, I'll sprinkle a little bit of Carnelosi and probably one or two Nunez as well. But I'm seeing decision here. There might be enough volume to make value, but not necessarily the fight I'm going to be targeting very heavily.
No, I do think they're cheap. Like in terms of if you do either one, I could see an argument. If you think Nunez is going to get the finish, sure, she's a great price. If you think Carnelossi is going to really put up the pace, she could score here. But yeah, not a must play by any means. Obviously, 10 fights makes it a little bit harder. So we'll sprinkle a little bit in, but again, yeah, not a must play.
All right, let's move on here. Next fight, we've got Backduro at minus 160 versus Davis at plus 135. And this line is definitely moving in Davis's favor here recently because I think he opened around a plus 200.
And this has Battrell. We got him on DraftKings at 8,600. Davis, you can get on the back end at 7,600.
Yeah, this is going to be a good fight, man. I think there's some recency bias definitely laid into this line that we got Davis kind of like scrapping his way back into the UFC versus Batchero, who's coming off two just highlight KOs. But let's put that into context a little bit. He fought an old Canetti and then Natividad. I mean, the guy's just not UFC caliber. Davis, man, he had a tough go in his first run, and he's looked good in the regional since 4 wins in a row in the last 2 years. But I mean, when you get kicked out of the UFC for a split decision with Chikaze, like, there's no shame in that loss, and especially it aged very well at this point. So I think the guy's got more tools. I'm going to go Davis here. I think he's got more tools in the wheelhouse. He's tough as hell. I don't see him getting knocked out here. Um, and I think he just can kind of put that grinding, wrestling pace on Battrell and give him issues, especially with the length advantage here. But for me, this one's just a matter of the values there on Davis. I think people think this guy sucks, and it's like, yeah, he had two tough split decisions there before he got kicked out of the UFC. He's still developing, and I'm just not super impressed by Battrell. Like, where are you at on this one?
I think it's a close fight. I'm going with the favorite here. I do think Battrell has some pretty sneaky, powerful counters. I think honestly, I just think he's a crisper, better striker, better fighter. I don't think he's. I don't think Brandon Davis is as bad as people think. I think it's close. I even will venture to say that I think Davis does have more tools in the toolkit. I think he's probably a little bit more well-rounded. I just don't think any of those are going to come into play here. I think this is most likely going to stay standing, be a striking battle, and I do think that the power advantage and just the slightly crisper counter striking is going to be the difference. And I think he will actually catch him and possibly finish him in the third. Decision wouldn't surprise me though. Obviously, these are lighter weight guys. Either way, though, even a decision, I think he'll land the harder shots. I'm going with the favorite. I'm going with Batcherall here.
Do you feel like Battrell's striking's like on the level of Chikaze though?
No, it's not from a technical standpoint, but from a pure
Power.
rock and power, it makes a difference if you can rock somebody.
Yeah, I think if Davis does get hurt on the feet, he will take it to the ground. He's shown that like great fight IQ. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough fight, and again, we got another fighter here coming back, and
Yeah,
his
it's close fight.
competition.
And I will say it's something that these lighter weight guys, and this is something I've always noticed. Just even if you're a good dominant wrestler, it's so much harder to hold down
Oh
the
yeah,
little guys. They pop back up, and
yeah,
that's
they're
my other thing.
wiggly. They're wiggly, man.
Exactly. And you don't have to worry about gassing nearly as much as a bigger guy using
Yeah.
that energy. Even if Davis gets him down a couple times, I do think most of this fight will stay standing, and I think that's where I'm picking Batcherall
Are
here.
you playing Battrell on DraftKings? I know I got some Davis because he's a good price there as the underdog. I got one or two Battrells in there because I do think he's live for a quick KO. But where are you at on
I'm playing
Draft?
both of them. I am playing both of them. I do think obviously Davis has good value there at 7,600. I think it's probably closer than the odds would show. But I am going to play Batcherall here, especially the guy shown in his wins. He can finish people and score. He scored 107 and 128 in his KOs. Obviously, if he can get it done, he's a powerful play. Not like a must play, not like a high confidence level, but if you think Batcherall is going to win and win by KO, he will absolutely be in the optimal. So I want to play quite a bit of him. I'll probably play, 65-35 here because I do think Davis has value if he pulls off that upset at 7,600.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think this fight in general, I feel is end up on optimal most likely.
Right.
So
And there will be they're small. Volume happens.
yeah,
You can count on more volume in this fight than big guys. I think it's a good fight to be played considering where they're priced. You can fit them in a lot of lineups, especially in a 10 fight card.
yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on here. Now this one's interesting. So we had Godinez at -220, fighting Carolina at +180, and Godinez fought last Saturday. Fastest
Yeah,
gonna be the
she's about
fastest
a week
round
ago.
in
Yeah,
modern UFC
exactly.
history.
Yep, she's about to beat Shemev for the fastest turnaround.
Yeah.
If she can get the victory, she'll hold that record of fastest 2 wins in a row. Obviously, Shemev did it in 10 days. Very interesting to see. Here we got on DraftKings a little bit interesting here. I wasn't expecting these odds. Godinez came in at 9,000. Carolina's all the way down at 7,200. So I'm going to go right off the bat here and say I have Godinez winning this fight, but very difficult to play on DraftKings because I think the fight is a lot closer
Yeah.
than people think. The weight class issue is huge. That she's going up. Godinez obviously just looked amazing 7 days ago, but she's fighting at her correct weight class. When she fought Penne, it was up a weight class like this, and was a little bit harder to implement her wrestling and submission game when you're facing someone who's 10 pounds heavier than you. With that being said, I do ultimately think the fight will play out in Godinez's favor. I do think she will ultimately get the fight to the ground and win either by submission or a decision. But at 7,200, you got to look at Carolina as an interesting DraftKings play. I will play Godinez here because obviously we saw what she can score when the game plan goes the way she wants it to go. She scored 127 in her last fight, but much harder to afford her at 9,000 in a fight that you're not positive how it's going to play out. So probably closer to 50-50 for me, even though I do like the fight to be played on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for that recency bias in the line. This is about as blatant as it gets. But Carolina was supposed to fight Eubanks here, and the whole narrative for the week was Eubanks is going to dominate her wrestling.
Yeah.
Carolina's got nothing for her on the ground, and we're going to see it kind of grind it out, either decision or maybe Eubanks gets a second finish of her career here. You put in Godinez, and everybody saw what happened last week with the wrestling, but historically, she's not this unreal offensive wrestler. She had a just smash matchup in the last fight. But with that being said, though, Carolina doesn't bring much to the table, man. She's Muay Thai. She wants to get in that clinch. She kind of wants to throw some knees, but she's not doing damage with them. Her
Mm-hmm.
ground game's pretty suspect. I mean, we're not really sure what she has, especially off her back's real weak. 9,000 though, that's a beast price point. I was really hoping she'd come in around like 85, 8,600,
Yeah.
and I think she'd be a smash play. But the other 9K fighters up there, I just see much more safety with. So, I mean, I'll sprinkle in some Godinez and I'll definitely take some Carolina because the price is there. I think this is a closer fight than the odds suggest. But yeah, I was really looking forward to kind of pounding Eubanks this week, and this one I
Yeah.
just don't feel as confident in.
No, I don't feel as confident. I will say, especially if you are more on the Godinez train, if Godinez wins, she will score. Her style is takedowns,
Mm-hmm.
nonstop submission attempts. Like, so yeah, Godinez will absolutely could be on optimal if she has a dominant victory. The problem is this going to be more competitive? Is she going to struggle to get those takedowns? Even if she wins, is this going to stay standing for a little bit longer? Is this going to be clinched? I
Yeah,
could see it. So if you can afford her, we're not saying don't spend the money here. I'm definitely playing Godinez at 9,000. She's just not a must play for me
yeah,
in the matchup.
I agree. All right, let's move on. And this is finally probably my first bet of the night coming up here. We've got Roberts at plus 260 versus Amiv at minus 330. Um, this one for me is just, it's not even close here. What do we got on DraftKings?
Yeah, DraftKings, she's, I believe, the most expensive fighter. We have Amiv at 9,100, second most expensive fighter. Amiv at 9,100. Roberts can get all the way down at 7,100.
So I'm going to lay the chalk on Amiv here just as far as a straight bet goes. I think he just absolutely grapple fucks this guy. He's
Yeah,
also one of the best defensive striking numbers in the UFC. Like, he doesn't get hit. You're not going to see some, risky takedown attempt that puts him in a bad position. The dude's an absolute grinder, and Roberts, for as much hype as he's getting for knocking out the other Russian in his last fight, I mean, there's levels to that kind of wrestling, and that guy wasn't even remotely close to what Amiv's going to put on him. DraftKings, though, I could see him holding him down and not really scoring that much, man. But if you want to
yeah.
save play, a cash play, I'm on Amiv all day.
So I'm with you, but not at your confidence level. And it doesn't mean that I don't see the fight playing out like you do. I'm picking Amiv. I have no problem betting Amiv, especially in a parlay fashion. Drafting, I'm off him. I don't. He doesn't score well. He just he's good at what he does, but he's not a Khabib or a Makhachev in the
He's not going to get the finish.
nonstop volume. Even from top, we're not getting nonstop striking. It's not the same. I do see Ameev winning this fight, and I ultimately obviously feel like he's going to get the wrestling to get it down. But it is exactly that. Ameev is not as impressive to me as some of these other Russian Dagestanis that you're seeing. He's a little stiffer in his approach. He's a little more awkward, not quite as dominant with the takedown. He is still a great grappler. He still has going to have a large advantage on Danny Roberts, but I don't think as much of a shutout as I feel like you do. I do think Roberts' biggest weakness in this fight is almost like an overconfidence in his well-roundedness. I think Roberts done a very good job of well-rounding his game. He's not afraid to be on his back. He actually has decent submissions, but his best, obviously, method to winning this fight is striking. I actually believe that Roberts is a little too comfortable being well-rounded and is going to not be so concerned to grapple. And I think that's going to be his biggest. He should run from the grappling like it's the plague and just try to make the striking. And I don't see it happening. I think he's just going to fight like he normally fights, and that will ultimately cost him because he will get taken down. He won't get a submission here, and
Yeah,
he
I
will
mean, for
get.
me, it's also like a fight IQ thing. That guy, like you said, though, he's gonna take this fight where it shouldn't go. He's also
Yeah,
just overly aggressive at times, and I'm like, Amiv's not the type of fighter you want to overextend on because you're gonna just get held up against the cage. Um,
yeah,
he'll land some little knee, nothing. He doesn't land anything hard. I mean, Amiv's not finishing anybody.
no,
Um, but for me though, I see 30-27 written all over. I think he just controls the guy, man.
yeah. No, I'm with you. I agree with that. It's just comparatively to some of these other guys. Like I'll give you an example. Like in his fight and obviously his loss to Anthony Rocco Martin. No disrespect to Rocco Martin because he is a good fighter, but it was just these other Dagestanis and Russian wrestlers that they've proven to be on a different level than even American wrestlers. Like I don't get that from Ameev. I get he's a solid MMA grappler and he's going to beat guys, most guys that he's got better grappling in. I don't see a super dominant champion level guy here. Still think he has plenty enough to beat Roberts. Just am not as hyped on him and his wrestling as everyone else. And I think he's also 34, still good. I still think he 30-27's Roberts, but I'm just not quite as high there on his grappling compared to some of these other guys that I would have.
Yeah, and I will say he does fight down to his competition on a
Yeah,
regular basis, so that's a little scary. But all right, let's
he
move
should
on
have enough
here.
to defend for Roberts for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, the last fight on the prelims here, we've got Sanchez at plus 135 versus Bruno Silva at minus 160.
It's a great fight. This is probably my favorite fight on the card, to be honest. That's left.
That's left. Yeah,
Uh, Silva, you're going to get at 8,300. Sanchez at 7,900. For me, this is a must-play fight on DraftKings. Absolutely must-play, no matter which way you see it. I know we're split on this one,
hmm
but I don't really have a problem with either of our takes on it. I'm back and forth on this fight. Ultimately, I am going to take Bruno Silva in this fight. I think he is just an explosive finisher, and I think he gets it done. Sanchez is a super tough guy. As tough as he is from a mindset, cardio, he has shown some ability to get knocked out from just a pure chin standpoint. Not that he doesn't have the heart or the will to fight on, but he has shown some durability issues. And I like Bruno Silva, man. He's an explosive. It's a weird one. I don't know if Silva's actually better anywhere. Striking, Bruno Silva might have more technical striking, but maybe not. Sanchez might even be the more technical striker. Sanchez is probably the better wrestler here. It really just comes down to finishing ability, and I think Bruno Silva, when he goes for the kill, um, he can be a monster, and he has a serious power advantage there.
Oh yeah.
100% could see Sanchez grinding him out. Wouldn't shock me, but I just have that feeling there. I think Bruno Silva's looked good to me. I think he gets it done. I'm going to pick him probably via round 2 KO. I do think Sanchez is tough enough to not just get pure finish in the first, but I think he's going to get caught with one too many power shots and get finished in the second.
Yeah, and I'm with you. This is a must play on DraftKings either way. They're just too cheap. I mean, you're going to get. I think this fight has the second. I mean, maybe not the first with that other fight being off, but the best chance for finish on
Mm-hmm.
the card. So it's like 8,300. I mean, that's like the most expensive fighter in the fight. I'll take that all day.
Yep.
Um, I am a Bruno Silva fan, man. That guy's got power. I mean, that knockout from in the guard was insane. Like he just
Exactly.
throws bombs as far as ground and pound. I'm going Sanchez here. I do think he grinds him out. And I really want to see Silva's gas tank when he's being grinded like that.
Yeah.
My fear though is the same is that is he going to be too comfortable on the feet where he like isn't pressing to get those takedowns. He's like, "Oh, he's got that new little karate stance. He kind of wants to move in and out with his jab." If he stays standing with Bruno Silva's going to catch him and he's going to put his lights out.
Yeah.
If he's
Yeah.
smart enough to get this to the ground though, I think Sanchez can work him on the ground. But again, Bruno Silva's so dangerous though. One sweep and he's on top, and you're getting just
Yeah.
haymakers laid down on you. Like,
I totally see the path for Sanchez. The reason I'm also sticking with Silva is like Silva can absolutely be wrestled, beaten in the wrestling department.
mm,
I just don't know if Sanchez is a good enough wrestler. Not that he wouldn't get him down in the second or third, but
hold
I
him.
think, yeah, just to hold him and really out wrestle him and grind him.
Yeah,
He could still absolutely, if this goes to the third round, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Sanchez is winning or even dominating by the time it's the third round. But to get him grinded, it's going to be a tough task in 1 and 2.
yeah, I agree. All right, let's move into the main card here. We've got Landwehr at plus 300 versus Klein at minus 380. And I
All right.
think Klein's the most expensive fighter of the night.
Yeah, he is. So 9,200 for Klein, and Landwehr you can get at 7,000, all the way down to 7,000.
This one's
Isn't it interesting
pretty
fight?
straightforward, man.
Yeah, it's a fun fight though. I really am excited. Obviously Klein, we're very opinionated on this because we had a large bet on his last fight. We feel like Klein got robbed in his last fight, but obviously a guy coming in with a lot of hype, had an amazing finish in his first fight. Didn't look quite as dominant against Trezano in his second fight, even though we definitely thought he did enough to win there. Landwehr is a really straightforward fighter in terms of like, it's funny because one of his most impressive wins is who I would compare him to, but a poor man's version of it. It's a poor man's Darren Elkins.
Yeah.
He is a super tough guy. He's a brawler. He doesn't really have good wrestling, but he's got enough stamina that his wrestling can grind people in the later rounds. But he fights on heart, and he's a madman in there. Is it possible that he grinds Klein come round 3? Maybe. Klein looks like his gas tank's fine. Klein used his wrestling in the Trezano fight when he needed to, and Klein is a significantly, significantly more technical striker. Also, probably has a straight power advantage. And we've seen Landwehr get caught and knocked out before. Pretty safe bet that Klein is either going to get a first round KO or have a pretty dominant striking performance here. I do like him a lot on parlays.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rolling him out on DraftKings probably 90%.
Yeah,
The problem for Landwehr is, man, that guy just takes one to give one.
yeah, that's not the guy
And
you
that's
want to.
not the guy you want to do this with, man. He's gonna head kick him. He's gonna knock him out.
Yep,
Landwehr's a punching bag, man, and he's tough as nails.
yep,
Nothing against that guy. He's fun to watch. If you haven't watched, you know, his fight with Elkins, like go watch that fight. It's a fucking great fight. Um, but yeah, I mean, Klein's just so explosive with those kicks, and yeah, I mean, I got him first round KO. If he doesn't get it done early, I think he still can make value for you. Um,
yeah,
Landwehr's also like the perfect person to go against in DraftKings because it's like he's going to bring the pace.
yep.
There's not going to be a feeling out process. There's not going to be any kind of low volume. If you're going to be Landwehr, you're either going to KO him or you're going to put it on him because he's going to just stay in your face.
The thing with Landwehr is, even though he's shown like in his war with Elkins, you would almost want to say, "Oh man, he showed a great chin because that was a war and these guys traded." But Elkins really isn't a knockout guy.
No.
Landwehr has shown when he gets hit by a hard puncher, he goes down. So
Yeah.
it's not like even though he's had these durable, crazy wars where he has a lot of heart and he's a madman, his chin isn't some incredible chin. Klein can definitely crack it.
All right. You playing any landwear?
I'll play one or two maybe just to throw it in there because I think I like the guy's pace. I do like the guy's toughness, but no, not really. Not with any serious. Like we're talking about 95 to 5% here. I'll play
Yeah.
Klein. Obviously, Klein's a tough one to afford,
Yeah.
but I do think he is a safe guy to get over 100 points.
Yeah, and I
May
like
not
him.
necessarily be optimal if you have some of these, especially these women fight. We just don't know what's going to happen here. If we have the girls fights that have a lot of volume,
Mhm.
maybe Klein with a KO scores you 100 points or 95 or 105 and maybe isn't optimal, but very safe for his price.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on. This next fight is a very good one, actually. We've got Fiorit at minus 240 fighting Bueno Silva at plus 200.
Yeah, that is a good fight. DraftKings, let's see, we got Fiord at 8,900, Buena Silva 7,300. So big difference DraftKings.
Yeah, so Fiorit's got some serious momentum going right now. Two just dominant wins in the UFC. Not against any good competition, but that's no fault of her own, and she's done exactly what you'd want to see out of somebody fighting lower level competition. I mean, she's just putting it on these girls. They've got nothing for her on the feet.
Yep.
I did initially think Bueno Silva was going to win this fight, though. I thought it was like her jiu-jitsu's good enough. She's going to get her down. She's going to sub her. Then you look at the stats. She's never attempted a takedown in her career.
Yeah.
She's constantly being taken down and getting the subs there, which is, I mean, terrible fight IQ. Everyone fighting this chick, but we don't even know if she has offensive wrestling. We have no idea. She's never shot a takedown.
Yeah.
And if this stands on the feet, Fiorit's going to piece her up, man. She's on another level. Her kickboxing is the real deal. Um, if there's a slip or somehow she gets this down, I mean, Bueno Silva's definitely live for a sub here. But I mean, you got to look at the stats. You got to play the numbers, and I mean, Fiorit's going to just give it to her.
Yeah, I'm pretty far on the other side. Like I I'm with you, but I just don't even I have Fiord all day here. I don't maybe a slip, maybe a quick sub, but I think Fiort's gonna absolutely dominate. I think she's gonna absolutely destroy her standing. Um, I think she's strong enough in the clinch type of scenarios that she's not going to be threatened here. And it's one of those things. I like her footwork as a striker, where she even if Buena Silva just goes all out for takedowns, I think she's going to get pieced up awkwardly going in because she's not a wrestler. I don't think this is a good matchup for her at all. I actually like her a lot at minus 240. I would take her straight up. I like her in the parlays that we've been talking about with Klein and Amiv. I'm a big fan of her. I'm going to play her too. I actually think she could get the finish here. I think she throws a shitload of volume. Clearly shows she
Scores
can
too.
finish.
She scores.
Yeah, she scored. She scored 100 and 120. Obviously, you get the finishes in those fights, but if you look at it, lots of significant strikes, knockdowns, gets some takedowns of her own. Not that she necessarily wants to control time. She's a real deal. I'm definitely gonna pay up for her when I can at 8,900. I played a lot in my lineups. Again, I'm not saying Wayne Silva has no chance here. I will play a little bit, but I'm going to be very, very skewed and heavy on Fioret here.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. I mean, she should absolutely dominate this fight. So,
Yeah,
all right, let's move on. This next one is a good fight. We got an older fighter fighting a kind of first timer. So it's going to be real interesting. We got Miller at minus 240 versus Gonzalez at plus 200.
yeah, it was a good fight. Obviously, Jim Miller's the most UFC fights of anybody in ever. So true veteran of the sport here. You can get Jim Miller 8,700, Gonzalez at 7,500. This one's interesting in just that every fighter kind of eventually reaches that cliff where age catches up with you and you drop off a cliff. That's like the biggest X factor here. From all other standpoints, on paper, Miller should cruise in this one. I think, other than the large age gap, Miller is so much more experienced. Miller should be much better in the submissions. I think he's still a physical enough force where he can get that takedown, especially round one. There are some major concerns about Jim Miller's gas tank, especially when he's facing a younger, fresher guy here. But I just think Jim Miller hasn't fallen off that cliff yet from a skill set standpoint. Cardio definitely scares me. I'm taking Miller via first round submission here. I know you and me were talking that there's some decent odds on him getting a first round submission. As a prop bet, I would sprinkle some bets on that. As a parlay piece, even though I do like Miller, too much like red flags there with his age and cardio. I would probably lay off betting anything large on him, but I am going to take Miller straight up in this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a prime. I'm going Miller here. I think they gave him a prime matchup to kind of get a good win here. Sanchez has shown like a serious lack of takedown defense in his regional career, and
Yeah,
like Jim Miller's not the guy you want to end up on the ground with in the first round when he's still got something in the tank. I mean, he completely controlled, Solecki until he gassed.
yeah.
Um, I'll say the tweet of the week was they called that guy Jim Tesla Miller because he has no gas tank, and I mean, he scares me though because if your only path to victory is a submission in round one, like, and I'm not saying he can't grind out round two. I mean, this guy might
I
just not be good enough.
Yeah,
But
Miller needs to be on top too.
yeah,
When
yeah, he
Miller's on
can't end up on
top,
the bottom.
when Miller's on top, he's efficient with his cardio, and he just can't get up if he's tired. Also, where
Yeah.
he is right now.
So I like Miller. I think Miller gets the sub in round one. I'm gonna play a decent amount of Miller on DraftKings, but I will say like I'm not betting this guy just for the simple fact that I'm gonna throw something at the TV if you dominate round one and you are got nothing left in two and
Yeah,
three and you lose a decision. Like,
exactly. And I got to
uh,
give my Jim Miller a shout out here that I was laughing at that Tesla one too. Jim Miller in his early days was a cardio machine. I got to give the man some love. He's an old man now. They're not wrong, but the guy used to fight in some wars back in the day.
yeah, I mean, honestly though, this is a great fight for him. I really hope he gets that submission. Big win for him. Sanchez, I don't know who you pissed off to make this your first matchup, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, as far as DraftKings though, I mean, Jim Miller will score if he gets this done in the first. So
yeah,
interesting spot. I'm not playing any Sanchez, even though he could grind out a decision. Um,
yeah.
I just don't even see him scoring in that scenario. So for me, it'll be Jim Miller or pass, but not betting it. Don't trust him.
Yeah, I'm playing mostly Jim Miller. I'm not on a pure pass on what's his name? Blanking on the name right now. Uh,
Sanchez? No,
Sanchez. Yeah, yeah.
no, not Sanchez. Sorry,
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
Yeah, I'm not completely just because I think if the cardio completely drops off, let's say even round two, I think Gonzalez can put some volume on round two, round three. Not playing much of him. I think I'll have probably like 15% Gonzalez, probably like 40% Jim Miller, pass on the rest.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. And this next fight is an absolute fade for me, but we got to talk about it. So we've got Arlovsky at minus 105 versus Felipe minus 115. And I'm gonna be honest, I just don't give a shit. Like
No,
for
no.
a co-main event, this is gonna be a boring fight, man.
Yeah, this is also one where you're just like, all right, like when the fight first got announced, I was like, Felipe all day. Like,
Yep.
younger guy, up and coming. Arlovsky's goddamn 43. He's 31 and 20. He's been knocked out a million times. Why is he even still fighting? Felipe should win this. Then you watch the tape and you watch, obviously, Arlovsky's fought way more defensively at this stage in his career. He's actually, I would venture to say that Arlovsky actually has better technical striking now than he did when he became UFC heavyweight champ because he was just relying so much more on his athleticism at the time. And he did a little bit of a Overeem here, where he really adapted his style to not take as many shots. He's been super boring since he's been doing that, but he has been more effective. Felipe, like, is I mean, the only thing Felipe's got going for him is he's got underrated cardio for how fat and out of shape he looks. He throws some strikes and doesn't get tired in round 3, but he's not really a technical striker. You would think if you're not a technical striker and you brawl like that, you'd be getting KOs. Hasn't KO'd anybody in the UFC. Um,
I mean, he
yeah,
could
so
get Jake
really,
Collier out of there. Jake Collier gets put out by
yeah,
everybody.
so really, whatever fight here. Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna pick Felipe just because I feel obligated from the younger. But I mean, I've been back and forth. I would have probably taken Arlovsky if Corey wasn't taking Arlovsky. I thought I would just might as well go against him here and take Felipe. But this is an absolute toss-up fight. Also, one of the few full-on heavyweight fights where I say I'm going to barely play any of this fight at all. They both
Not
have
touching it.
do not score in their fights recently, and just in general. Yeah, maybe I'll play one or two if I need to just make it in my lineup, especially just because there's only 10 fights. That's the only reason I'm going to fit some of them in there. But it is mostly a pass for me, and I'll take Felipe just a little bit more on volume.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Arlovsky. Guy's tough as nails. Felipe spends half his time taunting.
Mm-hmm.
um, he doesn't do anything. Honestly, yeah, I mean, the winner of this fight, I could see scoring 60 DraftKings points. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look at Felipe's last 3 wins. 3 wins 66, 62, and 68.
yeah, that's just.
It's not good.
I'm just disappointed that this is our co-main here.
Yep.
But yeah, let's go Arlovsky. Why not? Fuck it.
And here's Arlovsky's last 3 wins. He's 3 of his last 4 he's won. I'll exclude his loss to Aspinall. Here's his last 3 wins: 50 points, 44 points, and 74. Yeah, this is a pass for us.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Just yeah. It's a shit fight. It is what it is. But let's move into the main event. We've got Aspen Ladd taking place here for Holly Holm, and she's coming in at minus 135 versus Dumont at plus 115.
DraftKings actually pretty good prices here, especially that you're getting a 5 rounder. Aspen Ladd you can get at 8,400. Dumont 7,800. So very affordable, very playable here. I do think it'll be a pretty action-packed fight. Um, I like this fight a lot for DraftKings purposes. Let's hear your breakdown first, Corey.
Yeah, I'm going Dumont here, man. I think with the 5 rounds, you're going to have to play this fight. But for me, Ladd's path to victory is wrestling. Dumont's probably the better striker here. She should piece her up if this stays on the feet. Um, Ladd's coming up in weight. And Dumont, man, she has great takedown defense.
Mm-hmm.
She's stacked. Her legs are fucking tree trunks, man.
I actually think, and maybe I'm wrong here, I think she might have 100% takedown defense in the UFC so far.
I wouldn't be shocked. Like, have you seen this chick's legs? Like,
Yeah, I think she is at 100% in the UFC. And then on the flip end, Aspen Ladd, even though she hasn't fought that many times, has one of the highest success rates on takedown. I think she has a 75% success rate. A
yeah,
pretty
for me.
interesting stat battle there.
Oh yeah, that's going to determine this fight for me. I'm going to go with I don't think Ladd's strong enough for this weight class to get her down consistently. I could see her getting one early, full gas tank, but once she starts to wear a little bit, rounds 3, 4, 5, because I don't see this thing getting finished. I don't know if you're going to take her down anymore at that point, and I think she pieces you up on the feet. So if this was down a weight class, I'd be all over Aspen Ladd here. But going up and against a chick like Dumont with this takedown defense and just her build, she's strong. I think the weight's going to be the biggest issue here for Ladd, so I think she's going to struggle.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. Obviously, Dumont's getting a smaller name here in Ladd instead of Holm, but from a matchup standpoint, significantly more winnable fight than Holm. Holm, I would have probably crushed her here in this spot.
Oh yeah,
So
Holm was gonna
interesting
do
fight.
her.
Yeah, Holm would have crushed her, but I'm going Lad. The weight class does concern me. The layoff does concern me. The missed weight a week or two ago, 2 weeks, whatever it was, concerns me. All of these things concern me. I just think Lad is a more talented fighter, plain and simple, and that's why I'm picking Lad here. Dumont's obviously a physical fighter, physical force. She's just not really when I almost remembered her as being better than when I watched her tape recently. Like she's just kind of like sloppy. She gets the job done, and
Yeah,
I'll give her that. And obviously, it's WMMA. She just isn't really that great. She's just physical. I think Ladd is just a superior technical fighter here. Of course, if she can get this to the ground, I think she's going to have a lot of success. Um, Standing, she could be in some trouble just from the physicality alone difference. But I think she's improving. I just think Ladd's ceiling is so much higher than Dumont's as a fighter that I'm picking potential and skill over some of the physical disadvantages, some of the weight cutting, some of the outside forces here. I think Ladd ultimately does get this fight to the ground eventually. Um, and, and yeah, I mean, even the cardio does concern me. Not that she's had necessarily cardio problems. The cardio can concern me, especially when you're cutting weight 2 times in that short of a time. But still, I'm going with Ladd. I think she's going to get it done. I think she is a physical enough fighter, even going up, and a skilled enough fighter to get this to the mat. And I'm even going to actually pick her by stoppage, and I'm going to go probably in the third round. Probably I'll say I think she's going to get her to the ground, grind her out, get either a TKO or a submission round 3. Either way, though, the fight is a must play for me. We're getting 5 rounds. We're getting volume, and especially if Ladd wins, I think she's going to be able to mix in those takedowns. So I'm going to take Ladd here. Going to play this fight on just about every card because of the price point. Probably
and the
going to
10 fight
go.
slate. Yeah, I'm gonna probably have this on 95% of the cards for sure.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
Dumont at the price. I like Ladd at her price. I don't see any issues playing this either way.
yep.
Um, yeah, man. We didn't have too much for you guys today as far as bets.
No, and we're
It's just one of
sticking with
those cards. Look, we got one more week and we start to get some good fights going again. This one just kind of got brutalized with injuries and last minute, replacements. So, look, like and subscribe if you liked what you heard tonight. But we'll kind of recap with you guys after the weekend.